Beethoven's genome provides clues to his poor health and early death nearly 200 years after Ludwig van Beethoven's. A research team has succeeded in sequencing the German composer's genome from his hair tresses, revealing surprising details about his health and family history. The main ones are Beethoven had inherited genetic risk factors for liver diseases and was infected with hepatitis B. Taken together with the composer's alcohol consumption, these likely contributed to his at the age of 56. The team's research is published today in Current Biology. Our primary goal was shed light on Beethoven's health issues, which included progressive hearing loss that began in his mid to late 20s and eventually led him becoming functionally deaf in 1818, said study co-author Johannes Krause. Biochemist specializing ancient DNA at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology in Leipzig, Germany, Cell Press. 25. Sonata No. 14 and Symphony No. Famous for his compositions such as 9, Beethoven is one of the most beloved figures in the history of music. Tens of thousands of people attended his funeral on March 29, 1827. He was gifted pianist and had a daunting work ethic. When deafness beset him, Beethoven put resonator on his piano to amplify his voice and eventually used the vibrations to continue composing. Although the researchers were unable to pinpoint a definitive cause of Beethoven's deafness, they gathered a wealth of insights from his DNA. The genome was taken from 5 preserved strands of wavy hair, passed down from different families and friends. Several other locks of hair previously attributed to the composer turned out to be not his, and one so-called Kessler lock could not be definitively attributed either way. In addition to deafness, Beethoven suffered from gastrointestinal problems and liver problems throughout his life. The illnesses became so severe that in 1802 he asked favorite doctor, Johann Adam Schmidt, to explain and publicize the nature of his illness after. Beethoven's is now often attributed to cirrhosis or liver scarring. Based on the genomic data, the team determined that celiac disease, lactose intolerance, and irritable bowel syndrome, all possible sources of gastrointestinal upset, and severe secretions, are unlikely to affect Beethoven. Portrait of Ludwig van Beethoven. Moreover, Beethoven does not appear to have suffered from lead poisoning. The previous analysis suggesting this was based on a hair sample that did not belong to her. The composer's was almost certainly precipitated by alcohol abuse. As researchers note, some Beethoven's contemporaries claimed that the composer drank in moderation, but a friend allegedly drank a liter of wine at lunch every day for the last few years of Beethoven's life. Whether these biomarkers can be accurately analyzed for chronic alcohol consumption in hair is a huge unknown, and will likely require a large-scale study to validate such approaches, said Begg, an archaeogeneticist at Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology in Leipzig, Germany. The team also compared Beethoven's Y chromosome with 5 of the descendants of Ludwig's ancestor, Aert van Beethoven, who lived between 1535 and 1609. However, Y chromosomes of living males did not match those from Beethoven hair samples. According to the researchers, this marked extra-paternity, that is, an extramarital conception, somewhere between birth of Aert van Beethoven and Ludwig 7 generations later. This intruder provided the Y chromosome, which eventually entered Ludwig's genetic code. Similarly, while the team detected hepatitis B viral DNA in Beethoven's hair, they were unable to determine when or how the infection occurred. Hepatitis B causes inflammation of the liver and can be transmitted from mother to child through sexual intercourse or during surgery with contaminated instruments. We can't say for certain what killed Beethoven, but we can at least now confirm the existence of a significant hereditary risk and hepatitis B virus infection, Krause said. We can also rule out less likely genetic causes. Hepatitis B is probably the most promising vein of future research, Begg said. I strongly recommend that additional strands of hair from different periods of Beethoven's life undergo such analysis. While the results confirm some previously suspected results, they also raise new questions about the origins of Beethoven's many diseases. And of course, Perhaps the biggest mystery, the cause of hearing loss, remains just that. Hiller's lock, formerly thought to be Beethoven's hair. Researchers study 8 strands of hair associated with Ludwig van Beethoven. It turns out that the Hiller lock is not a true Beethoven lock. In fact, genetic analysis showed it came from a woman. Halm-Tha and Berman locks 2 curls of hair with inscriptions discussing their purchase. Both Halm-Tha lock and the Berman lock have been confirmed by Team's analysis as genuine pieces by Ludwig van Beethoven. Moskow's lock taken shortly before Beethoven's. Laboratory studies on the lock confirmed its authenticity. Stumpf lock, a researcher reaches for wire of a Stumpf lock in lab. The Stumpf example belonged to Beethoven. This is the strand of hair where the composer's entire genome has been sequenced, allowing researchers to gain new insights into Beethoven's health and genealogical history. Beethoven on his bed, Beethoven's bed lithograph. Beethoven on March 26, 1827. Years before he asked his doctor to explain the cause of the ailments that had plagued him for years. Now, thanks to DNA preserved in composers' tresses and passed on over the centuries, geneticists are finding new details about what contributed to man's health and